The eagle's command. Dusty Sky stood before the council fire, the harsh crackle echoing the grimness in his heart. Old Man Willow, his face a roadmap of wrinkles etched by sun and sorrow, spoke the words Dusty dreaded. The settlers, the Miller family, they encroach further each day. The council has spoken. They must be removed. Permanently. A wave of murmurs rippled through the gathered elders. Dusty remained silent, his gaze fixed on the flames, dancing like the uneasy thoughts in his mind. He knew what removed permanently meant. Later, the setting sun cast long shadows as Dusty practiced with his bow. Each arrow found its mark on the worn leather target, but his movements felt mechanical, devoid of their usual fluidity. He imagined the Miller family, a farmer, his wife, perhaps children. Were they so different from his own people, clinging to the land for survival? He remembered his grandfather's stories of the first encounters, promises broken, treaties disregarded, land stolen inch by bloody inch. The settlers saw them as savages, obstacles to progress. His people saw the settlers as locusts, devouring everything in their path. He paused, drawing his knife, and began whittling a small bird from a scrap of wood. It was a habit, a way to quiet the storm inside him. The smooth lines of the bird offered a temporary solace, a fleeting connection to beauty in a world increasingly defined by violence. But even the delicate carving couldn't erase the eagle's command echoing in his ears. He had to decide what kind of warrior he would be. A journey of whispers. The sun beat down on Dusty Sky's back, each drop of sweat a tiny rebellion against the woven wool of his tunic. He pushed through a thicket of thorny bushes, the barbs tearing at his sleeves, a physical manifestation of the doubts clawing at his resolve. The settler's farm felt a lifetime away, each step further a betrayal of something he couldn't quite name. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by the harsh sunlight, swirling into ghostly figures. He saw his grandfather then, his face etched with the hardship of a life spent fighting for scraps of land. They take and take, Dusty, he'd rasped, his voice a dry whine through the canyon. Dusty remembered the stories. Tales of broken treaties and stolen harvests. Whispered around crackling fires late into the night. He saw his grandmother, her eyes reflecting the flames, recounting the Battle of Whispering Creek, the river running red with the blood of their people. He scrambled down a rocky embankment, dislodging loose stones that tumbled into the ravine below. Was he any different from those who had wronged his ancestors? He was being sent to extinguish. The faces of the two orphaned girls swam before his eyes. Elara's unwavering gaze, and the younger one. Lily, was it? He winced. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. It whispered through the tall grasses, a chorus of forgotten voices. Dusty paused, his hand resting on the hilt of his knife. His mission felt heavier now, a burden too great to bear alone. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the clouds in hues of blood orange and bruised purple, mirroring the turmoil within him. He had to make a choice. Shadows of the farmhouse. Dusty Sky walked through the tall grass, the farmhouse a dark rectangle against the inky sky. No lights. Good. He circled the perimeter, a ghost in the night, cataloging the outbuildings, a barn, a chicken coop, a small shed. No guards, no dogs. Too easy. Doubt gnawed at him. They said these settlers were dangerous, a threat to the tribe's hunting grounds. But all he saw was a silent, vulnerable home. He reached the back door, its wood weathered and cracked. He placed his hand on the cold metal of his knife hilt. This was it. He tested the handle. Unlocked. A wave of unease washed over him. Why so careless? He pushed the door open, the hinges groaning in protest. He froze, listening. Silence. The air inside was thick with the smell of wood smoke and something sweet, like baking bread. He stepped inside, his senses on high alert, every shadow a potential enemy. He drew his knife, the steel glinting in the dim light filtering from the moon. A voice, small and hesitant, broke the silence. Are you the monster? The empty cradle. The farmhouse stood stark against the bruised indigo of the fading day. Dusty's fingers tightened around the rifle stock, the sweat on his palms making the wood feel slick. Claim jumpers. That's what they called them, didn't they? Snatching what was rightfully. He choked down the bile of familiar rage. Orders. He eased the front door open, its rusty hinges emitting a drawn-out groan that amplified the unsettling stillness. The air inside hung thick with the mingled scents of dying embers and something cloyingly sweet, like potpourri. He moved through the main room, his boots silent on the aged floorboards. No welcoming cries, no protective barks, no sounds of a family at their evening meal. Only absence. A thread of light leaked from beneath the closed door down the hall. He leaned close, listening. Silence. He nudged the door inward. Two small figures were entwined beneath a brightly colored, hand-sewn quilt. One, a girl with a cascade of brown hair, clutched a tattered doll. Her sibling, younger, framed by a golden halo of curls, slept, thumb tucked into her mouth. Lily and Rose. He knew their names, damn it. He lowered the rifle. The dying fire in the hearth threw wavering shadows that played across their faces. Faces that held nothing but innocence, vulnerability. Not the faces of ruthless usurpers. Not the faces of an enemy. The doll slipped from the older girl's fingers, landing softly on the floor. Her eyes flickered open. Raw, untamed fear sparked within them. She recoiled, drawing her younger sister closer. "Who are you?" she breathed, her voice a fragile tremor. Dusty gazed at them, the rifle feeling impossibly heavy in his grip. Its weight had somehow changed, become unclean. The room, the children, the unexpected quiet. Everything felt different. The mission had shattered. Orphans of the prairie. Dusty's hand hovered above the weathered door. He'd pictured gnashing teeth, eyes burning with zealous hatred. Instead, the air smelled of lilac and wood smoke. He knocked, the sound swallowed by the vast prairie. A long minute stretched, then the door creaked open, revealing a girl no older than 10. "Lily Bell," she stated, her voice small but firm. Her eyes, the color of faded denim, were wary. Behind her, a smaller girl with tangled curls peeked out, clutching a rag doll. Dusty removed his hat. "Ma'am, I was just passing through." He hated the lie, the way it tasted like ash in his mouth. Lily didn't respond, only continued to scrutinize him. The silence pressed. Finally, she stepped back. Rose was telling stories. "Come in if you want, but don't expect much." The interior was dim, the air thick with unshed tears. A half-finished quilt lay discarded on a chair. On a small table, a worn diary lay open. He pretended not to look, but his eyes were drawn to the looping script. "The fever takes another. God forgive us." The entry ended abruptly. Rose tugged on his sleeve. "I'm Rose. Lily makes the best dandelion tea. Do you like stories?" Dusty knelt, the small hand surprisingly warm in his. Rose reminded him of his sister, Sarah, the same trusting eyes, the same unbound imagination. A knot tightened in his chest. He hadn't seen Sarah in years, not since. Lily's voice cut through his thoughts. "Papa's gone, and Mama too. The sickness took them." She spoke the words flatly, as if repeating a lesson. He looked from Lily's prematurely aged face to Rose's innocent one. Orphans of the prairie. The wind howled outside, a lonely sound that mirrored the emptiness in the small house. A warrior's choice. Dusty sky halted at the field's edge. The farmhouse a silent witness beneath the bruised evening sky. Dust coated his tongue, a gritty anchor against the storm raging within him. His fingers tightened on the tomahawk at his side. The familiar was a source of comfort. Yet tonight it felt alien. Burdened by a purpose he doubted he could execute. Restless, he trod a small circle, dry stalks snapping under his feet. The girls' faces flickered behind his vision, pale and stained with earth. Abandoned, vulnerable. He was dispatched to eliminate danger, not murder the innocent. A memory arose, Old Man Willow, grandfather, his voice like rustling leaves, instructing him, the Great Spirit lives in all things, dusty sky. Even the deer, even the serpent. Honor the life you claim, it is a gift, not yours to own. Even the newcomers, the old ones acknowledged, deserved respect, though they tainted the earth and plundered tomorrow. He squeezed his eyes shut, envisioning the unyielding visages of the War Council. They would never comprehend. Mercy was a flaw, they asserted. Survival demanded the ultimate price. But what survival necessitated the butchering of children? His eyes snapped open, his resolve solidifying like obsidian. He would not spill their blood. He could not. He would discover an alternative. He would fabricate, mislead, anything to safeguard them. He inhaled deeply, the odors of burning wood and wet soil calming him. A new purpose was his now, a warrior's decision forged in the fires of impossible circumstance. He moved toward the house. An act of mercy. Dusty's hands, calloused and scarred, moved with surprising gentleness as he rummaged through his saddlebags. Jerky, hardtack, a small, dented tin of peaches, pitiful rations for a journey but enough to stave off hunger for a few days. He added 2 thick, woolen blankets, the kind his own mother used to mend by the fire. Each item felt heavy, laden with the weight of his broken vow. He crept closer to the farmhouse, the scent of wood smoke and damp earth thick in the air. He saw them then, Lily hunched by the broken fence, Rose weaving intricate stories with twigs and fallen leaves. Rose's voice, light and airy, carried on the wind. And the brave knight, she whispered, he rode a horse made of sunshine. Dusty laid the supplies near the fence, a silent offering. He didn't dare speak, didn't dare look directly at them. Shame burned in his gut, a hotter fire than any he'd faced on the trail. He just wanted to be gone. As he turned to leave, Rose spotted him. Her eyes, wide and innocent, locked onto his. Lily followed her gaze, her expression a mixture of suspicion and something akin to hope. Dusty raised a hand, a gesture of peace, then turned and walked back towards his horse, each step a betrayal of everything he once believed. The rising sun cast long shadows, painting the fields in hues of gold and regret. He mounted, urging the horse into a canter, leaving behind not vengeance, but an act of mercy and the haunting question of what came next. Facing the council, Dusty Sky walked into the council chamber, the scent of burning sage doing little to calm the storm brewing inside him. He knelt before the 6 elders, their faces etched with disapproval in the flickering firelight. "I have returned," he stated, his voice steady despite the tremor in his gut. Chief Red Hawk, his face a roadmap of wrinkles, spoke first. "Did you fulfill your duty, Dusty Sky? Were the settlers dealt with?" Dusty swallowed. "No, Elder. I did not." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Whispers erupted, sharp and angry. He pressed on, needing them to understand. "I found 2 girls, orphaned and alone. They were no threat. I could not take their lives." Elder Willow, her eyes usually soft, narrowed with displeasure. "Disobedience is a grave offense, Dusty Sky. You were given a sacred task." "I know," Dusty said, his voice rising with urgency. "But the Great Spirit teaches compassion. These were children, vulnerable and innocent. Sparing them does not weaken us, it strengthens our humanity." He pleaded with his eyes, hoping to find a flicker of understanding. "I beg you, elders, see the truth in this. Punish me if you must, but spare the girls. Let me take them somewhere safe, far from here." Red Hawk leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "You defy the council, prioritizing sentiment over duty. You have brought shame upon our tribe, Dusty Sky." The air crackled with unspoken accusations. The weight of their disappointment was a physical blow, but Dusty stood firm, ready to face the consequences of his choice. A bridge of understanding. Dusty Sky stood before the council, the silence thick enough to choke on. He confessed his disobedience, the shame a bitter taste in his mouth. Yet, seeing Lily's fierce protectiveness and Rose's innocent curiosity had solidified his resolve. He couldn't have killed them. To his surprise, Chief Conthi, after what seemed like an eternity of contemplation, announced, "The Sky Clan has always valued compassion. We will not condone bloodshed of innocence. But neither can we openly defy the treaty." The decision was made, the tribe would offer clandestine aid. Dusty, ostracized but not punished, became the conduit. He moved like a shadow, leaving smoked fish and woven blankets near the creek where the girls foraged. One crisp morning, Rose, captivated by a blue jay's song, wandered closer to the woods. Dusty emerged, offering a handful of wild berries. Fear flickered in Rose's eyes, but the berries looked so plump and juicy. "My name is Dusty," he said softly, pointing to the vibrant crimson stain the berries left on his fingers. "Like the morning sky." Hesitantly, Rose took one. "Rose," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Lily, spotting them, rushed forward, brandishing a stick. Dusty didn't flinch. Instead, he knelt and began drawing in the dirt, sketching the constellations, whispering ancient stories of the Sky Clan, tales of respect for the land, of harmony with nature. Lily, initially skeptical, found herself drawn in, her grip on the stick loosening as Dusty's voice wove its magic. A bridge was being built, not of stone or wood, but of shared stories and tentative trust.